Stuxnet, the most sophisticated cyberweapon ever built. It broke into Iran's Natanz nuclear facility, the most secure air-gapped system on Earth, and destroyed 1,000 centrifuges. No internet connection, no network, completely disconnected from the outside world. Supposed to be unhackable. It wasn't. Microsoft looked at that and said, we need to build something better. So they built a cloud that's physically disconnected from the internet. The CIA uses it. 17 intelligence agencies use it, and then they put GPT inside of it. A full AI brain locked in a vault with no way out. This is the story Wall Street is completely sleeping on. What's up? Welcome to Microsoft Simplified. This is a channel where we break down Microsoft's tech infrastructure for investors who actually want to understand what they own. And we're kicking things off with a big one, the air gap. By the end of this, you're going to understand exactly how it works, why it's nearly impossible to copy, and why it might be the most underrated competitive moat in all of tech. I'm going to break this down piece by piece. Let's get into it. Okay, so first, what even is an air gap? Because the name sounds simple, but what it actually means is wild. Picture this. Imagine a computer in a locked room. No Wi-Fi, no Ethernet cable, no Bluetooth, not even a phone line running to the wall. There is literally no digital path in or out of that machine. The only way data gets in, a human being physically walks it in. That's an air gap. It's not a firewall. It's not encryption. It's a literal physical gap of air between that computer and the rest of the world. That's it. That's the whole concept. Dead simple, right? But insanely powerful. Now here's why it matters. The US government classifies data into levels. You've got unclassified, which is your basic government stuff. You've got secret, which is sensitive military and intelligence data. And then you've got top secret. Top secret is the kind of information where if it leaked, the government's own words are exceptionally grave damage to national security. We're talking troop movements, spy identities, nuclear details. That kind of data cannot touch the internet, period. Not behind a firewall, not behind a VPN. It cannot be on a network that has any connection to the public internet whatsoever. That's the rule. Now, most people think, wait, isn't the cloud by definition connected to the internet? And yeah, the regular cloud is. That's the whole point of commercial cloud. But here's the thing. Microsoft didn't just build one cloud. They built separate, physically disconnected clouds that exist in their own buildings, on their own networks, staffed by screened U.S. citizens only, no foreign nationals, no remote workers overseas, just cleared Americans in secure facilities. And if you think air gaps are bulletproof, let me tell you about the one time an air gap got absolutely destroyed, and it's one of the wildest stories in cybersecurity history. Picture this, it's around 2009, 2010. Iran's Natanz nuclear facility, deep underground, thousands of centrifuges spinning uranium. This place is air-gapped, completely disconnected from the internet, the most secure facility Iran had. And someone, widely believed to be the US and Israel, created a piece of malware called Stuxnet. This thing was a masterpiece of destruction. It couldn't spread through the internet because there was no internet to spread through. So what did it do? It hitched a ride on a USB drive. Someone, possibly an unwitting worker, possibly an inside agent, plugged a USB stick into a computer at Natanz. And Stuxnet woke up. It silently reprogrammed the centrifuges to spin at the wrong speed while telling the monitoring systems everything was fine. The operators are sitting there looking at screens that say all clear. Meanwhile, their centrifuges are literally tearing themselves apart. About 1,000 centrifuges were destroyed. 1,000. In a facility that was supposed to be unhackable. That's genuinely terrifying. It's like if Ocean's 11 was scripted by the NSA, and it proved something critical. Air gaps aren't magic. They're powerful, but they require constant, obsessive, paranoid level vigilance. That's the challenge Microsoft is up against. They have to build a cloud that's physically disconnected from the internet and resistant to the kind of attacks that took down Natanz. Okay, so that's what an air-gap is and why it matters. But Microsoft didn't just build one air-gapped computer. They built an entire cloud infrastructure, multiple data centers, across different regions of the United States, all disconnected. Let me show you how. All right, buckle up, because this next part is insane. Microsoft doesn't have one government cloud, they have 4. Think of it like floors in a building where each floor needs a higher security badge to enter. And once you're past a certain floor, there's no elevator back down without the right clearance. Floor 1, Azure Government, also called GCC. This is for government agencies handling controlled, unclassified information. It's connected to the internet, but it's isolated from regular commercial Azure. It's got FedRAMP authorization, which is the government's stamp of approval for cloud security. Think of it as the lobby. You need to be government to get in, but it's not the vault. Floor 2, GCC High. This is for defense contractors and the Department of Defense. Stricter access controls. Department of Defense Impact Level 5 compliance. Only screened U.S. persons can operate in here. This is where companies working on defense projects keep their data. Floor 3. Now we're getting serious. Azure Government Secret. This is air-gapped, physically disconnected from the internet. Department of Defense Impact Level 6. Accredited under something called ICD 503, which is the intelligence community's own security framework. 3 dedicated regions across the U.S. This is where secret-level classified data lives. And Floor 4, the crown jewel, Azure Government Top Secret, also air-gapped, also ICD 503 authorized, but the facilities themselves are accredited to ICD 705 standards, which are the intelligence community's requirements for physical and technical security of their actual buildings. We're talking biometric access, constant surveillance, the works, multiple geographically separate regions for disaster resilience. This is the ceiling. The most classified cloud environment Microsoft operates. Now check this out. When Microsoft launched the Top Secret Cloud in August 2021, it went live with more than 60 services. 60. And the Secret Cloud already had 73. These are not toy environments. These are full-scale cloud platforms with compute, storage, AI services, Kubernetes, serverless functions, databases, basically everything you'd find in regular Azure, but locked in a vault. And here's a number that blew my mind. Microsoft processes over 100 trillion security signals every single day. 100 trillion. That's more data points per day than there are stars in the Milky Way, times 1,000. And the threat intelligence from that feeds into how they protect these classified environments. Now you're probably thinking, can't AWS do the same thing? Fair question. AWS actually got to the intelligence community first. Back in 2013, the CIA gave Amazon a $600 million contract called C2S to build their cloud. Amazon had a head start. But then things shifted. In 2018, Microsoft scored a deal giving 17 intelligence agencies access to Azure Government. 17, including the CIA. That deal was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And in 2020, the CIA's next-generation cloud contract, called C2E, went multi-vendor. AWS, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and IBM all got a piece. Then, in December 2022, the Pentagon's $9 billion joint warfighting cloud capability contract was split 4 ways between AWS, Microsoft, Google, and Oracle. So the classified cloud space went from AWS only to a real competition. But here's where Microsoft pulled ahead in a way nobody expected. Okay, so this is where it gets wild. In May 2024, a guy named William Chappell, Microsoft's Chief Technology Officer for Strategic Missions and Technologies, stood up at an AI expo and dropped a bomb. Microsoft had taken GPT-4, the most powerful AI model on Earth at the time, and deployed it into the Azure Government Top Secret cloud. Completely air-gapped, no internet, no way for the model to phone home, update itself, or send data out. A sealed AI brain in a digital vault. It took them 18 months of work to make this happen. And part of that work involved overhauling an existing AI supercomputer in Iowa just to get the model into a form that could run inside a classified, disconnected environment. Here's how it actually works, step by step. First, Microsoft takes the GPT-4 model weights. Think of these as the brain of the AI, the billions of parameters that make it smart. They physically transfer those weights into the air-gapped environment. No internet transfer, physical movement. Second, the model runs on isolated compute infrastructure inside the classified cloud, completely separate hardware from anything connected to the outside world. Third, end users on the Department of Defense's classified networks access it through Azure OpenAI service. Same interface as the commercial version, but inside the vault. And fourth, those users can fine-tune the model, add their own data, build custom workflows on top of it. But the model itself cannot learn from the internet, cannot contact the outside world. It reads and analyzes, but it does not phone home. Ever. Chappell's exact words were, quote, "We are going to have GPT-4 in an isolated environment for the first time. We've only done that for the US government, and that's a big deal. They will have their own private instance of this capability, isolated from the rest of the world." I did not see this coming when I started researching this topic. Think about what that means. An intelligence analyst at the Pentagon can now sit behind 3 locked doors, pull up an AI, and say, "Analyze these 1,000 pages of intelligence reports and tell me what I'm missing." Or, write code to process this satellite imagery. Same capabilities as commercial GPT-4. But for top secret work. And it didn't stop there. By January 2025, OpenAI's GPT-4o was authorized for top secret workloads through Azure. And then, just last month, January 2026, Microsoft announced that GPT-5.2, their newest frontier reasoning model, is now available in both the secret and top secret air-gapped clouds. GPT-5.2 in a vault with multi-step reasoning, context-aware planning, and advanced analytics for the nation's most classified missions. That is an absolutely massive deal for investors, and here's why. No other company on Earth has done this at this scale. AWS has classified cloud. Google has classified cloud. But nobody else has deployed frontier AI models, air-gapped, for top-secret work, and then kept upgrading them from GPT-4 to GPT-4o to GPT-5.2 inside those vaults. This creates what I'd call an escape velocity moat. Once the Pentagon builds classified AI workflows on Microsoft's air-gapped GPT infrastructure, they are not switching. You don't rip out a classified AI pipeline. The switching costs aren't measured in dollars. They're measured in security clearances and years of reaccreditation. That's not a subscription. That's a lock-in that could last decades. And look, Lockheed Martin already saw this coming. In November 2022, they signed a 3-year deal, making them the first non-government entity to independently operate inside Microsoft's Azure Government Secret Cloud. The largest defense contractor on Earth looked at this infrastructure and said, "Yeah, we want in. That should tell you something." Now, here's the part that genuinely freaked me out, because if you think this is just a US military thing, Microsoft just went way bigger, like 2 days ago bigger. On February 24th, 2026, literally days before I'm making this, Microsoft dropped a massive sovereign cloud announcement. Three things happened at once. Number one, Azure Local, which is Microsoft's on-premises hardware platform, can now run fully disconnected. Zero cloud connectivity. No phoning home to Microsoft. No check-ins every 30 days like it used to require. Completely off the grid. Mission-critical infrastructure with Azure governance and policy controls, but no connection to the outside world whatsoever. Number two, Microsoft 365 Local. That's Exchange, SharePoint, and Skype for Business, running entirely inside a customer's own sovereign boundary. Fully disconnected from the cloud. Your email, your documents, your collaboration tools, all running locally with no external connection. And number three, this is the big one, Foundry Local. Microsoft is now enabling large AI models, including multimodal ones, to run on customer hardware, fully disconnected inside sovereign environments, on NVIDIA GPUs, inside the customer's own building, behind their own walls, with local inferencing and APIs that operate completely within customer-controlled data boundaries. Look at what Microsoft just did here. They took the air gap concept that they built for the Pentagon and turned it into a product for the entire world. Picture this. A European government worried about the US Cloud Act. They can now run Microsoft's full stack, AI included, completely disconnected from any American server. A defense contractor in Asia? Same thing. A hospital system that can't let patient data leave the building? Same thing. A bank with regulators demanding data sovereignty? Same thing. The Register reported that this move is partly a direct response to European customers demanding the ability to, quote, cut the cord to US servers entirely, and now they can. Azure Local previously had to phone home to Microsoft through Azure Arc. Pull the plug for more than 30 days, and you'd lose functionality. That limitation is now gone. This is insane from an investor perspective. Because here's what just happened. The air gap went from being a niche national security feature to being a global product category. Microsoft isn't just selling classified cloud to the Pentagon anymore. They're selling sovereignty. They're selling compliance. They're selling the ability to run Microsoft's entire ecosystem, AI and all, in a building that has zero connection to anything outside its walls. And the customers who buy into this, they're running Microsoft infrastructure, Microsoft AI, Microsoft productivity tools, completely locked in, even when they're completely disconnected from Microsoft. Think about that for a second. Microsoft found a way to lock customers into their ecosystem even when those customers literally cannot connect to Microsoft. That blew my mind. So let's bring it all together. Here's the big picture. Microsoft built a parallel internet for the world's most classified data. 4 tiers, from controlled unclassified all the way up to top secret. They put GPT inside the vault, upgraded it 3 times in under 2 years, and created an AI moat in the classified space that nobody else has matched. And then, this week, they took that same air gap technology and made it available to every government and enterprise on Earth. When you look at Azure's numbers, $75 billion in annual revenue, 39% growth last quarter, remember this. Some of that growth is coming from customers who literally cannot leave. Not because of a contract, not because of pricing, because switching would require ripping out classified infrastructure, reaccrediting entire systems, and rebuilding AI pipelines from scratch inside a new vault. That's not a subscription. That's a fortress. The air gap started as a security measure. Microsoft turned it into a platform, and now it's becoming one of the deepest competitive moats in all of cloud computing. Yo, if that was wild to you, you know what to do. Smash that like. Hit subscribe for more deep dives on Microsoft's infrastructure, and I'll catch you in the next one.